Hello and welcome to the VR Untethered podcast, where we come at you weekly with Untethered and
I didn't bring my dagger.
that remains to continue to not be Josh.
But we are bringing it at you anyway. So,
We have obviously some big news about some white leaks earlier this week.
well, they might be gray, and there might be a little pony on one or two of them.
Yeah.
But yes, we have seen those leaks. I mean, at this point, it's not a leak; it's a waterfall.
Well, it's a leak that needs a little Dutch boy to stick a finger in to hold the sea back from flooding all the way in.
I know. If we take one more guess as to what that two means, I'm going to jump off a cliff. I think that's what it means. Is how many more guesses do you have to hear before you jump off the cliff? Two.
We also have some other news. Some more apps coming out next week, obviously, and apps that came out this week, and highlights of the week. So, Brad, what were your highlights?
Well, my highlight this week was you mean aside from the leaks? My highlight would be the release of In Death, Hello Sloth Face. It would be the release of In Death and getting to play some. It's really good, I have to say. I played it on PC VR when they released it, and I was shocked at how good a job that Super Bright did in taking it over. I think they actually improved on the PC version,
Right.
Which that's saying a lot. That
Well,
really,
and they're going to be adding free locomotion too. So
yeah, I know that they really sort of need to do that pretty soon.
yeah, I mean that was the only drawback that I ever heard about it was the lack of smooth locomotion, because not everybody likes to go to move.
But they do it well. I mean,
yeah.
even they really do. You don't feel it. It's not like it's
Right.
disorienting, so it's fine. I understand why they did it that way. And
But yeah, it looks like it would work perfectly with the combination of smooth locomotion for the hallways and arrow teleporting for the areas where there's a big gap between. You know?
right. What they did in order to solve that was you get something called a shard, which
Right.
you could just throw and make a small move.
Right.
But yes, my
Right.
natural instinct, of course, is to move those few steps as opposed to taking it out and
Right.
shooting it or picking up my shard and taking it out. You know,
Right.
it's like, can I
Right.
just creep over here, please?
Right.
So yes, that would be
Yeah.
the perfect combination.
Yeah.
But not one or the other. I like the combo. I wouldn't want them to get rid of the other.
Right. Because if you only have smooth locomotion, then they'd have to redesign some of the levels because you'll be stuck on a platform where you
Right,
have
exactly.
to fall. Yeah.
Forever, literally forever.
Yeah. So it would have to be a hybrid combination.
Right.
You've got the arrow teleport, but you can also move in the hallways and the rooms with the thumbstick or whatever.
Well, they did that with Trover Saves the Universe. You're able to use teleport mechanism as well as free movement.
Right.
So
Allspace does that as well. You can move with the thumbstick, and then you hold down B or Y, and that brings up a teleport arc.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. In this one, basically, what it does, yeah, they all have their different teleport solving mechanisms.
Yeah, I mean, In Death obviously uses a teleport arrow, but still, you know. Yeah.
And I like it though. I'd have to say that In Death was graphically really, really nice because I think one of the members on the Discord had mentioned the fog, and you're able to actually see enemies in the distance like as shadows and be able to identify them, which is amazing. We're still talking about a quest here, you know.
Right.
And yeah, it sucked me right in. It really did.
Right.
But the problem is right now I'm playing Trover Saves the Universe at the same time and Phantom Covert Ops, and trying to remember the buttons on all of them and where I am in each of them, and going back and forth is like,
Right.
a little tough.
Right. Yeah. Oh, a good review. What did you think of the bow mechanics? So did it feel realistic?
Yes, the ball mechanics are the most realistic to date. I haven't hit the crossbow yet. I just played with it for a while.
Okay.
But yes, I found them to be very accurate. And when you adjusted for an arrow that was off by a little bit, the adjustment that you made was perfect.
Okay.
So, and you also have very quick redraw, very,
Right.
very quick. So you're able, when you see five guys coming at you and you figure you're a dead man because there's no melee weapon, don't panic. Pull out those arrows and go. And
Right.
it's a,
You get the
yeah, it is. It's intense. So, and
right.
it does make you feel like Robin Hood in heaven
Right.
or whatever. So
Right.
it's excellent.
Yeah. Cool.
That and Trover. So Trover has turned from just a generally funny game and some mechanics to where it keeps introducing more and more mechanics into the game. So at this point, as opposed to sitting there with some controller, I'm now actually able to move the height of where I am. I'm able to control objects myself. So it's sort of like Moss. I'm now a third party companion,
Right.
except
Okay.
Trover is, I mean, it is Rick and Morty.
Right.
And as an aside, it was really a shame to read that Squanch Games, who brought us Accounting Plus and now Rick and
Right.
Morty, is going to leave the VR stage for a while.
Really?
Yeah. They said that making a AAA game like Trover, which really is turning into a AAA
Right.
platformer, it's insane.
Right.
Uh, it's just not worth it. The money that it takes to make it at this point, they're saying, and I have to disagree, seeing what went into Phantom Covert Ops and others, it might not be worth it
Right.
for them because they might be counting more on their humor than the VR. I don't know the
Right.
decisions that they're making.
Yeah. Well, we haven't heard anything about how much money that they've made from it yet.
No.
I don't think so. But a little spoiler: there was a new game just a few weeks ago that made a lot of money in a short amount of time. But that's for the news section.
I won't say a word. But those are probably my two highlights of the week.
Okay.
And Phantom Covert Ops, I'm less queasy when I go in there now, so I'll be accomplishing
Okay.
a little bit more.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Cool. Your highlights out of the way. Now it's time for my highlight. Okay, let's move on to new release. No. More Skyrim, of course. I finally made it to the College of Winterhold in there, and I've fought another couple of dragons and whatnot, and I'm progressing in the plot line. I've got a new follower that I gave armor to, so she can hopefully survive a little bit better. The other follower, I didn't seem to, or I don't recall if I had the option of giving her anything. So, and maybe I did, and I just didn't know what it was because I was still new to the game.
Right.
But also, I have gotten into the habit of, if I'm going to go fight a dragon or something that's more powerful than I think she can handle, I tell her, wait here, and then I go and I just realized that I had the door open, and then I go and I do that bit all by myself so that I don't lose my follower.
Good idea. That's an excellent idea.
And I ran into some giants and some mammoths.
Wow, so you're having a lot of fun with Skyrim.
They helped me beat a dragon, and then they turned on me and started attacking me.
You can
Because
never
giants
trust the
are hostile to the player. And they
Right. So the enemy of your enemy was your friend until your enemy was dead, and then
Right.
they filled the void. So
Yep. I ran away from them.
good idea. Run away.
Well, because evidently giants in the game are a static level. Almost all the other enemies level up with you. So if you're level 10, they'll be around your level, maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower.
Right.
But the giants are always level 38, I think, or 35, or something like that. So for early on in the game, they're like the hardest enemy, harder than a dragon. And
Really?
one hit from one of their clubs will knock out like 75% of your health.
Run away.
Yeah, but if you run into water, they won't follow you.
Giants don't
They
like
were
water.
in a camp surrounded by hot springs, so I ran into a hot spring.
Did you bake or did you just take
No,
a nice bath?
a nice bath that I ran through and well, they're like 10 feet tall giants, so
Right. So
yeah.
when you look
And
backwards,
in
what you see is
VR, they
like
really are 10 feet tall.
yeah, that was like the arena in Titanfall. Not
Right.
Titanfall. Yeah, Titanfall.
Yeah.
Uh, they were like 10-foot giant ogres that came at you. I
Yeah.
saw many a person laying on the ground screaming as they surrounded them.
Yeah. I also tried out the Iron Lights update. They introduced a new class, some new cosmetics, and a whole bunch of other stuff, including actual in-app purchases for cosmetics. Uh, Most of the in-app purchases are with the coin that you earn by winning battles or by going through the single player campaign. But there was one cosmetic item that was marked $1.99. So it was real world money for that one.
Okay.
I do have to say though that I really like the new class that they introduced, the Reaper. You have a scythe, and that's all you have. It's a two-handed scythe, but it's got a little shield section in the middle of it. So it isn't a staff, but it wielded kind of in the way that a staff really would be in real life, except that it's only got one impact point for when you attack.
Right,
Unlike a
but it's
staff.
got a point on it, so I mean
Right,
that does make it a little bit more
right,
impactful than just a
right.
tip.
But I can block like I would with a staff, you know,
Right.
you know, and that's what I was missing in the actual staff mechanics. You have to block by hitting with the sections of the staff, not by actually blocking.
Right.
So
It's been a long time since I played Iron Lights because we got caught up in the Echo. I believe it was like within the
yeah,
same week
yeah,
that they were
yeah.
released.
So, but I went up against two people live against it. One of them ended up going, because you can't actually open your hand in the game. They're just stuck like that the entire time. They're like, and that they ended up to disconnecting.
Right.
Because I was like at 90% health still. They were like at 30%.
Oh, but still, I mean, you don't just leave a
They
game.
ran away, basically.
Yeah, obviously, they took your advice with the Giants. Run away.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other one I went up against was a much closer battle, but I still won, and I had like 30% health left when I won. So
I want to get back into that also. I see a few of the Discord players are back on there and winning
yeah,
white belts, and I know they have a tournament going for cash
yeah.
prizes and stuff.
There wasn't anything going when I took a look at it, but yeah, they have added tournaments, as has Elven Assassin, which I also tried out. Their update, and things seem a little different in the bow mechanics. Previously, I had no problem getting those long distance shots that at the orcs were coming in.
Right.
Now I'm lucky if I get one, and there's one the teleport spot in the human village one, where the bell is in the
Oh, of
middle
course.
of it,
Right.
and I'm like, I have to try like 6 times because even though it's the big beacon, there's only one small section where if you hit it, you teleport over there.
Right. Okay.
So,
So you're not loving the update on Elven Assassin?
well, it's still about the same. It just felt like things got a little different in the mechanics. It's just a matter of getting used to it, really.
Okay.
So.
Because I was going to say it's a bad thing if their mechanics go bad, just as something like In Death comes out.
I know, right?
Um,
Oh, yes, you are correct. And I also got to try out briefly last night Microsoft Maquette.
and
Well, first of all, if you're not familiar with what that is, that's a prototyping software that Microsoft put out that's supposed to let you quickly and easily create a prototype for an AR or VR app. It lets you create shapes, it lets you use text, lets you import models, etc., and to quickly build a user interface or a layout of the app or just the app itself, and it seems surprisingly powerful. It's got primitives, it's got a whole brush and a volume brush. So that's like the whole brush and tilt brush, or the volume brush and gravity sketch. And both of those the brushes in Maquette work a little bit different. So the whole brush works like what we are used to in tilt brush and gravity sketch. The volume brush is a little bit different. It still creates a volume, but rather than starting here and then coming here and it automatically fills there and there, and creating like a cone, it's a little bit more like you're doing a tube that then just ends up forming one shape as a whole bunch of, or as opposed to a whole bunch of tube segments.
okay.
So it's a little bit different, but it's pretty easy to get the hang of it. You can easily snap objects to each other so that they are always lined up with that plane.
That's a lot.
Easily switch to I want to translate this out just a little bit. I want to make it a little bit bigger. I want to rotate it. All that stuff is pretty well thought out. The only gripe that I would have with it is, the same gripe that I'd have with a lot of things is your left hand or your non-dominant hand is where all the options and palettes are, and right hand, or your dominant hand, is the one doing all the work.
Well, that seems to be pretty much
that's the norm.
Adopted style, exactly.
Kind of, So, but yeah, I would sometimes like to be able to, I'm drawing this here, but I'd like to just come over here while I'm doing this and draw another little line or whatever, maybe, but you can't really do that, so.
That's a little nitpicky, but they'll probably add it. I mean, once they get power.
Probably not. But no,
I guess it depends.
does look like a really polished app, and I watched a video of from the Microsoft Maquette YouTube channel 2 months ago, part 1, and they never had a part 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, of building an AR cooking app to prototype. And they made a logo, a mock-up of the AR core, AR kit, the grid lines indicating a surface, right? Mm-hmm. And a couple other things, and they did that all in like 20 minutes with explaining everything. So if they weren't explaining everything, it'd be like 10 minutes.
No, but that's great.
Yeah.
I missed that. Just as an aside, Adobe used to put out something called Classroom in a Book. Mm-hmm. And if you actually followed it and went through, by the time you got to the end, you knew the ins and outs of the program.
Right.
And there is nothing like that anymore that you can
Right.
really
Yeah, I know.
master
Well,
the program
way
on your
back when I was running Action Script 5 for Flash 5, way back when,
own. Oh, God.
way back when, I got a book that did an excellent job of teaching all this stuff and just walking me through. And so within a month, I had learned it well enough to be able to create an entire working website that had information, products to buy, etc.
Right.
All in Flash.
Now, the one thing I will say is that from what you're saying with Maquette, which now I'm going to have to try and play with a little bit.
It is
Um,
free, so
yeah, I know, but I don't have my powerful computer with me, so I don't
right.
know how that's going to work
Yeah.
out. Now that I'm traveling again. But um, I I think that what's happening now with WebXR and with, as you're saying, with Maquette, it seems like a lot of these companies and Dreams on the
Hmm.
PSVR are gearing it to like, okay, you show us what you can do.
Right.
Here's the stuff, here's the
Right.
coding snippets, sort of like what you're doing with the Maker Pen over in,
Right. Yeah. Well,
and
and they're going to be updating that too.
right.
In
So they're
retro.
making it, once again, they're doing exactly what, Xerox or Apple, whoever you want to credit with the mouse did, which was giving us a graphical user interface in order to be able to
Right.
accomplish what used to take, book learning.
Right.
And
I like book learning.
me too. I just mentioned I miss my classroom in a book,
Yep. Yep.
but I think that a lot of, I don't want to say youth, but people that are coming into the tech today are more used to working in the graphic environment, so it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And it much more intuitive to be doing things within a VR environment when you are creating a VR environment, because you don't have to periodically stop and jump in and make sure scale is right and distance is right. You
Right.
know, you already know because you're already in that VR environment.
I
So
know.
yeah.
And
Uh,
people who don't design don't understand that the
right.
XYZ space creates incredible amounts of
Right.
problems.
One of the other really cool things about Maquette is it has a mode where you can preview an AR viewpoint. So you got like a real environment around you, uh, and their 3D environments are much better than the Gravity Sketch ones.
Well,
uh,
remember, Maquette was made to create prototypes to be viewed through the
right, right,
HoloLens.
but you can turn on uh, the AR preview, and then it'll uh, if you look up, you can see it getting cut off by the field of view and whatnot.
Right.
It's just like in a real AR headset, you would just see that because it's not the complete, but a window.
Right.
So it looks like it would be a really good tool to know. Okay, I need to push that back a little bit, or because otherwise they're not going to see it all, or you know,
Which is
you know,
excellent. I mean, it streams down the process and it'll let people
right,
create quicker.
right, right. So it looks like a very good and useful app. Unfortunately, I don't see it coming to Quest. That would be nice, but it's got. If it did come such a Quest, it would have to be a much more limited version of it. You know,
Yeah. Well,
so
I think that we're used to that in Quest
yeah,
world right now. So.
yeah. So moving on from highlights, now that we are 22 minutes in, let's talk about new releases. In Death Unchained.
Really? Is that out yet?
I don't know. We already talked about that. Unless there's anything more you want to add, real quick.
Um, Nothing.
Okay. Other than go buy it.
Oh yeah, definitely go buy it. Well, wait. Give me a week to get up there on the leaderboards and then go buy it.
Oh. Okay. Well, I still remember when we were playing Quiver. You were the one that was always up on the top of the leaderboard.
I know, I know. I want to get back to my old position, at least in archery, please. I can't get there in Echo. I know I'm not going to get there on Onward, so.
We also had MLB VR, Major League Baseball VR. I'm not a big sports fan in general of watching sports, but my wife is a huge Red Sox fan. My apology to any Yankees fans out there. She has the better team, no. But that's her favorite team. And every year she gets the MLB TV account. Fortunately, because we're using T-Mobile, she gets it at a discount or free. I forget which. So she gets a year-long subscription to it. And MLB VR uses that as your login. I think it also uses another option as well, but it ties in to your MLB TV login.
Right.
So I had her try it out this morning briefly, and she says, "Yep, it's an app I can definitely see myself using." She was like, "Oh, look at that!" That one. Evidently, because you set your favorite team or your home team or whatever in your MLB account, she said on her controllers, she saw the MLB logo and she saw the Red Sox logo.
Oh,
You would
cool.
obviously see the Yankees logo or whatever, but,
That's
and
great.
the cursor is a baseball diamond.
Cute.
And she only played around with it for a few minutes, but she was getting excited by it. So it sounds like it's a very good app for what it is.
Yeah.
Not my
I
kind
can't
of app because I wouldn't spend a lot of time watching the games, but that's just me.
Right.
I know there's a lot of people out there who love watching those games and have a team that you want to follow each and every game of. And you can watch live games, you can watch recordings. She went and she watched a recap video where it was one game or one season, I forget which, but it was like a 2-minute long video or whatever, so it was hyperlapse and highlights and whatnot,
Right.
So
That sounds cool. If you're into that type of thing, it's good to have there.
Yeah, and according to the trailers and whatnot, it allows you to see a three-dimensional strike zone and where the ball is in relation to it, if it's outside, if it's going in, all
Okay.
that stuff. So that gives you a better visualization of that, and it gives you real-time pitcher stats. So for the baseball aficionado, it's a good app. It sounds like.
It sounds like a really good app, and it's free. So
Yeah. The app itself is free. The subscription is not free unless you're on T-Mobile.
T-Mobile does give away a lot, right?
To the T-Mobile Tuesday. Yeah. And we had another new release. It's been kind of out for a while, but it's officially on the Quest Store now, and that is Immersed.
Right.
Which is a remote desktop app. It's the one that I used to have the best luck with because the virtual desktop was not working for me, but Immersed would to connect to my computer right away, have almost zero latency, and it would not randomly disconnect me. So it's a very solid app. I know one of our Discord members, Michael, actually the admin of the Discord. He used to use it to work 40 hours a week, and now he still uses it a couple times a week, but he his work has largely gone back to in person and being at work. But he used to use it all the time, 8 hours a day.
And well, Mikey is Mikey, so
Yeah.
um, that's not a guarantee. Mileage may differ for everyone here, but
Yes. Yes.
it does seem that a
Yeah.
lot of our members do like working in immersed.
Yeah.
So
And it recently added the ability to do a Zoom call from within Immersed.
right,
So, yeah.
yeah. I mean, we're definitely VR isn't dead.
Right.
I think is
It's
what
not.
we can safely say here.
Yeah. Speaking of VR not being dead, you might be dead within a few minutes, or I might be dead within a few minutes of starting to play an upcoming title coming out this next week on the 30th called Onward.
Onward. That's where I lose contact with every one of my friends as
Yeah.
they go into silent mode. And
If I don't contact you within 3 days, come search my apartment because I probably died from dehydration because I forgot to take off my headset and Onward.
yeah, you're not kidding though. That's the funny part. As you well know, you're getting the Onward
Yep, I've got a care package.
footlocker coming.
Yeah, I don't know that it's going to be exactly the same as what VR Oasis got. He's a big time YouTuber, so they probably gave him a special one, or they might have, But yeah, I am awaiting a care package from them as well. Mine is probably not going to have a combination lock on it, though, with the do not open until we send you the code thing.
Or it might. That's
It
the
might,
funny.
never know.
You never
But
know.
no, I have not received notice that it is shipping yet because the last I heard, they were running into delays in gathering everything for it because of the COVID situation. So I'll get it when I get it. My guess is, though, that it does not include a code for the game because they wouldn't be saying, hey, you'll get it when you get it. They'd probably say, you know what? If it's including a code for the game, we'll just give that to you now or whatever, so that you can get the game.
Well, that's what I was going to say was I wouldn't write off that code yet until the day of release.
I wouldn't necessarily write it off yet either because there's still almost a full week before it's out.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not really expecting a code for the game, and it'd be nice. But I'm already prepared to spend the money for it, so
No, I realize that, but I think if they're going to send you all of the goodies, that they'll probably want you to play the game as well.
Right. So we'll see.
Right.
VR Oasis will probably be able to open his before I get mine. So.
Yes. Well, that's what happens when you have 4 billion subscribers or something. So
something like that. Yeah. So, but yeah, that is a title we are both looking forward to. I know Michael's looking forward to it, but then he will have zero time for anything else in the week because he has Echo Arena tournaments and practice for that. He has work, and he'll have Onward that he says he's not going to play competitively, but we'll see.
Yeah. Those of us who know Mikey, bye, Mikey.
Yeah. He's going to have no social life after this.
Oh, no.
It's all going to be VR and work. VR, work, VR, work.
There was very little in between there anyway before, but now it's all gone. Yeah.
We also have another upcoming title that I've heard might be coming out next week, but I don't know for sure because I didn't see any date given anywhere. So it might not be coming out next week. So if it's not coming out next week, don't blame me. I'm just saying I've heard that it might be, but I don't know. It's called The Spatial. It's another immersed / virtual desktop-like app, but it gives you literally an infinite number of monitors, each screen is a different app, and it allows for socializing. You can be a group chat with other users, and you can pull up one of their screens and look at it. They can pull up one of your screens or whatever, and collaborate like that.
And see each other's avatars within as well.
Yeah, and has a basketball hoop for you to shoot baskets with when you are procrastinating.
People procrastinate? Never.
Oh.
Crazy.
No.
It is kind of weird, though, that immersed releases and vSpatial is right there.
I know.
And Virtual Desktop was the one that really pioneered Oculus into this wireless. So I guess we're in the Wild West at this point.
Well, vSpatial has been out for a while on the PC VR side of it, so it's already established there. Virtual Desktop gives you one screen. Immersed can give you two or three screens if you're on the paid version or something like that. vSpatial is going to give you as many screens as you want from the trailer.
Right. I was going to say, let's see what actually happens when you have graphics.
It obviously depends on your computer, how many simultaneous apps it can handle being open.
Right. Exactly. And the graphics capability of, open 10 different shopping pages that each have, hundreds of graphic images.
Well, I've got Photoshop open here. I've got Blender open here. I've got Unity open here. I've got YouTube open here.
Congratulations.
Oh, blue screen of death. or the frozen the single frame. What the crap?
It's funny, just as a quick aside, it just reminds me like when Apple came out with Final Cut Pro and they were talking about the innumerable layers that you could collapse when you were doing a render. And I was at a class and I questioned, well, how long is it going to take to do a render that has, say, 100 layers? And he looked at me and he went, well, if you have a couple of decades.
Right.
So.
Or access to a supercomputer.
No, that was with the supercomputer at the time because it was all software. It was crazy. Yeah. But it's nice to see where they're going. And by the time Quest 4 comes out sometime in December, that it'll be running immersed. I don't know. Let me have that XR2 chip put in the next.
Well, I want to use my Quest and immerse to connect to another Quest and then connect to a computer through that Quest.
No, you enjoy latency. I see.
I eat latency for breakfast.
I was going to say, you would be eating latency for dinner if you normally eat it for breakfast. So.
All right, so moving on to the news. This is one that I didn't know what the company was. Later, Specialized leaks the new Tarmac SO7 in AR. What that is that's a bicycle, and there's an app. The app is the Specialized Ride app, and front and center on the home screen is a teaser for the new bike, which lets you pull the bike up in an augmented reality view in your living room or whatever. I'm going to share my screen here real quick. Here we go. And it will... It looks like that. And this article is talking about it in the same way we'll be talking about our leak coming up. It's breaking down and it's looking at all the components, talking about that, and it's talking about that. What can we glean from this? Are they really going to do that? Is that just a misrender, or is there another bolt there that we don't know what it's going to be for? Or, yeah.
You know, it's fun for the first 15 minutes or so to speculate, and after that, it starts getting.
Yeah. So, but it, um, it, it's a bicycle nerd article.
Right.
Just like we have a lot of VR nerd articles speculating about the leak. So, you know.
Yeah. But, you know, one thing I didn't notice, which I was looking for when you showed it, was the direct drive, which I've been seeing added onto bicycles now, as opposed to the chain. So I was
Right.
looking for the direct drive, and it doesn't have it yet.
No, it still got a chain, yeah.
That's
So,
new.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
have you seen that direct drive?
it is cool. That's a perfect use of augmented reality, even if it is limited to the phone. Still, you know,
Yeah, well,
but
we'll have a
you know that's
chance to pay
a
the.
good use. Give a preview of a new product coming out, so that people see it, look at it, salivate over it, just build up the hype. You know, so
To a degree, you know, it sort of reminds me of like BMW and other companies that were handing out CDs to show you how cool it was, you know, and
right,
so that idea goes back 20 years, and
yeah.
some people would watch it and play, and other people would say coaster, you know, so
Well, going back um, in the video game way of handling that. Remember when the video game magazines would have the demo disc,
I
and
remember.
the Silent Hill playable trailer is still around.
Hey, can you still get on AOL these days?
But no, you're right. The concept of giving a free preview or taste has been around for a long time. Yes.
Yeah. So, but it's
But AR is a great way of doing it in the modern day and age.
But
So,
to be honest with you, I've seen what M&Ms are doing and some of the other companies where they're using their packaging to have a little AR piece built in so you could be amused by the actual
right.
product as well.
Yeah, and that works too. Yeah.
So yeah,
Um,
people are just trying to fit it into everyday
Speaking
life.
of Eminem, I want to know though that reminds me that we had or I had forgotten to put on the board for discussion last week that Deadmau5 is going to be doing a VR experience. We don't know much about it other than the name and a really short teaser trailer video that doesn't really show much.
Doesn't show
But
anything.
yeah, he's going to be doing a VR experience.
Right.
So that's pretty cool.
I agree.
Michael would not think that's cool because he doesn't like that kind of music.
Well, that's the nice thing about VR is, you know, it really does provide something for everyone. But yes, you're right. Um, but we're still in the Beat Saber wars. I mean, really, are we going to go into the different genres of music? I mean,
um. Anyways, speaking of leaks, we have a big leak this week of something that looks white and pinkish colored in the renders, but looks a little bit more silvery colored in reality. A little bit lighter than that, actually.
well, in the render
Well,
anyway.
well no, in the photos of it.
Right.
But it's Quest Shaq. I mean Quest 2. I mean
Or
Quest
Go
Lite.
Quest,
I mean
or
Quest Shaquille O'Neal.
or the Ghost, as I've seen it called as well, the
Or
Go
My Little
Quest,
Pony Quest.
which I've seen it referred to as well. Um, we're going to be guessing about this one for weeks and
Yeah.
weeks, unless it comes out tomorrow, in which case we can stop guessing.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it was. There's going to be. We know for sure. I think, kind of maybe, that September 15th is when we should get the official word on it.
well, either the announcement or it.
Right.
We don't know yet.
But yeah, people are speculating. At first, they were like, "Wait, I don't see any IPD adjustment," and then with the latest one, um, we can see a little number 2 in the middle where the proximity sensor is. Right below that, there's a little number 2 visible.
Right.
So, what did that number mean? Is that
Well,
the inspection number? Is that a subtle thing saying they're going to call it the Quest 2. Is that an IPD adjustment?
Is it player
Somehow, so
one or player
you
two?
just manually move them aside, and it shows you what number you're on. Who knows?
None of us do at this
Right.
point. It's an
It's all
interesting concept
speculation.
because when you look at the inside of it, it's looking at something that could be very, very cool or very, very cheap. And you can't
Right.
tell from the pictures.
And it looks like a complete different design on the lenses and a complete different shape of the lenses also. But we don't know, is that actually a different shape, or is it just there's a nose cover built in there at a different
Angle.
spot,
Right.
that's hiding the part of the lens.
Exactly.
It's hard to tell.
If you've been reading, which obviously we both have, all of the speculation at this point, I have no clue at this point. I mean, it could be for double sampling. It could have super sampling built
Right.
in.
Right.
It it could be an
And
alternate audio
people
channel.
are going on about the straps on it. At first, people were going, it looks like it's purely elastic straps, like on the Go, and yeah, it looks similar to the Go straps. But what I noticed, even in the very first image of it, or the first render of it, is it looked like right here and right here, because its strap comes straight down here. Right here and right here, there was something that looked like you can pull it to adjust and tighten. Well,
Right. I mean, yeah, I saw that also. And actually, it looks like they took a Go
right,
strap and put it on a Quest. And
right,
actually, it looks like a cheaper plastic than the original Go.
right.
And there's no
So,
fabric anymore. Everybody else
right,
puts fabric around their Dot and their Echo, and Quest is taking the fabric off.
right. Well,
So,
because it is a little bit cheaper, and we know from previous leaks and rumors and whatnot that it's probably going to have an LCD screen as opposed to an OLED screen.
pardon me, the Quest has two OLED
Right,
screens.
right. But
So,
you know what I mean. So this is most likely going to have one LCD screen as opposed to two OLED panels, which will drive the cost down a little bit of the production. That's a little bit cheaper. It's probably a little bit more energy efficient as well. Maybe out to only have one panel, you know. But it's not going to have the awesome contrast that the Quest screen does.
right.
But it's not going to have the smearing that can happen with the OLED panel.
I still trade off the OLED for the LCD at any given point.
Yeah,
My,
I mean,
my interest is the lenses look like
that.
they.
But at the same time, when I use our Go, it's perfectly serviceable. Well, I mean, I prefer the screen of the Quest, but the Go is
Right.
it's
You don't
perfectly
know
fine.
exactly.
Yeah,
Until you're looking, it's like when you go into an appliance store, used to be able to go into an appliance store and see four TVs set up and be able to see the difference between them.
right,
Unless they were right next to each other, you wouldn't have. They all would have looked great individually.
right,
And next to
right,
each other, you can go, oh,
right,
this one looks like crap, even though it looks better than anybody else's TV that you saw. But
right, right. So there's a lot of rumors out there, a lot of speculation. People are calling it Quest 2. People are calling it Quest Lite. I'm calling it Quest Shaq, as in Shaquille O'Neal,
why?
because I figured that would make it a good joke. Because Pavlov Lite, Quest Lite, Pavlov Shaq, Quest Shaq. Oh, hey, how about Shaq? Shaq.
Shack Shack. Shake Shack.
Quest
Oh,
Shaq,
yeah.
as in Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, yeah, now that they
That's
have the
just me and my
Shackaroni
weird
pizza,
sense of humor. Sorry.
that's okay. Whatever. We're allowed.
So yeah, there's really not a whole lot confirmed known about that. It's just all speculation based on what we can see. Evidently, Nathy posted that the more he looks at it, the more convinced that they are focusing on the media and the social act.
I don't agree.
aspect. And I'm like, is he's saying that because it resembles a Go, and the Go was a media device.
Which it wasn't.
I know it was a gaming device, but it got rebranded as a gaming or a media device, and everybody started referring to it as a media device. Like, what? Did you all get a memo from Oculus? This is a media device.
Uh,
Yeah.
No, they just all read Forbes or worked for them for 1 week or another before they moved on to another tech magazine. Um, yeah, I really don't know what they're going to do. I just hope that they don't adopt the let's come out with a new headset every year cell phone formula as opposed to let's develop a really good console over a few years formula.
Right. Right. I'd rather they go the console route, as I know we've already mentioned on a previous episode of the show. I I much prefer the console route. Actually, what I really prefer is a PC route where we can upgrade individual components, but that's not going to happen. No.
Now,
That
the
would be a
one thing,
nightmare for most the consumers.
it
So,
would be,
so
but the
they're not
thing
going to do that. But I wouldn't mind that personally.
personally, but
I
most
like
consumers
tinkering
would
with
go,
stuff.
right. I don't. I like my box to come to me, plug this here and go. I've played enough with the inside of boxes in this lifetime to just give me a working box, please. Um, the one thing that I was going to mention um, with all of these speculations coming out, I just don't know about backwards compatibility. I don't know if they're creating. I don't know. The thing is that
Yeah.
we have no idea of what's inside. It's
Right.
all speculation. The
Yeah.
one
I
thing I
mean,
do know,
we know that in theory things are supposed to be backward compatible because the controllers, which are also new and shown in the render, uh, are supposed to be backward compatible with the current Quest. So you can buy just the controllers and use them with the current Quest.
but they don't look like Jedi controllers. They're like the old Rift controllers in
Right.
white.
Right.
So
Right. So
that threw me off
I know.
because the Jedi controllers are supposed to be next gen, but they're going to come back with Rift controllers for the next
Right.
gen. I mean,
Right. So maybe these are not the Jedi controllers that you are looking for. um, maybe these are just an intermediary step, and the headset itself is just an intermediary step towards Quest 2, which will have the Jedi controllers.
yeah, once again, we're just guessing. The only thing
Right.
I did notice that really blew my mind from an ergonomic point of view and from an engineering point of view is that it looks like the cameras are actually mounted in between the faceplate and the base unit. If you take a look
Yeah,
at the
so some
side.
of that looks like that, but it's hard to tell if they
No, you can see the
actually.
indentation. That's the way it's made. And
Right.
also, the two front-facing sensors are sort of facing down a little and more centered, which I think is going to make them better for hand tracking.
Right.
But it's also going to create a heck of a problem for where are those sensors in relation to the sensors on the older sets. That's my backward compatibility issue.
Right. Well, that's all going under the hood on the OS level. It should work across the board for the developers because they don't have access to that uh, level, that hardware level.
Right.
They just get the information from the cameras for the positional stuff. So they're just relying on the OS abstraction layer to take care of that. So
Right.
that should be handled on the OS level, and the developers don't need to worry about it.
Right.
But
But the difference is very big if you look at the
yes, I
Quest.
know what you mean. I was just looking at an image over here, and you're right. Well, it was actually a thumbnail of a Soterio, the video on it, or Tyrio, I forget. Um, uh, but yeah, it does look like it's on the scene of the device.
Yeah. Which
But
from from a
whether
manufacturing
that's
point of view,
an actual seam or whether that's just a decorative seam because it's all made out of plastic, I don't know.
no, I see the depth. If you look at it, you can see the depth in between
Okay.
the seam. So I'm going to say that it's on the seam. And from a construction point of view, it makes sense
Right.
because you're just putting it, a piece. Now, replacement also, it makes sense. For the user, it presents problems in the sense that it's a weak spot.
Right.
That's my
Well, yeah. Well, I'm looking at an actual photo of it now, and there is the scene, but the scene stops at the
right
camera.
there.
There's a ring around the camera, and the scene stops here. It's at the camera.
Right. So the
So
camera is sitting right in between.
yeah.
It's almost like the linchpin, which is weird, but
Right. So I don't know. It remains to be seen.
yeah. Okay, but we can move on. But I mean, that was a really interesting thing that they replaced the sensors, the cameras.
Right. Um, but one more thing about this before we go, if I can look at it really quickly. There we go. I wanted to pull up a very cool image made by Michael.
Get your girlfriends in here. Get your moms in. They're gonna love this one.
Yeah. This image of his kind of went a little viral for him. He said, it looks like a My Little Pony version of the Quest. So he photoshopped a My Little Pony unicorn on there.
And it does look like
And
it would go
he
really
is right.
well.
With the color scheme that they are using in the render, it does look like that.
Does. God help me, it does. I can't imagine Gay saying, "Okay, let's get ready for some Onward. Put on My Little Pony and let's go."
Yeah. All right, now moving on, because we spent way too long on that.
Yeah.
We have another episode of hashtag XR Jobs on Twitter, where a lot of people did Twitter asked me anything about getting into the AR VR field, and there was a little bit of a debate that broke out later on in the day yesterday, actually, about it, saying evidently some people were just get an HMD and talk to me later after you get the HMD. And other people were like, dude, HMDs are expensive. So there was a little bit of a debate about that.
Debate what? How did it evolve into the HMD as opposed to OpenXR? I mean,
No, not OpenXR, XR
XR.
job. Getting
XR.
into AR and VR jobs.
Oh, without an HMD? You want to just do it on a flat screen? And
Well, that is the essence of the debate.
right.
That some people said, just get an HMD. Well, not everyone is able to afford one. I mean, so the Oculus Quest is one of the most affordable ones, but it's still a hefty sum.
Exactly.
I think it's worth it, but not everyone necessarily has the budget for it, especially now in the current economic times. And so I chimed in later on with my take on it, which is I can see both sides of the argument, because you kind of need at least access to an HMD to be able to develop.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you're doing ancillary stuff like writing or graphic design or coding, even, you don't necessarily need the HMD. If you're part of a team and you're just one of the coders on the team, you don't necessarily need the HMD for that. You just need to do your job on the coding.
Right.
At the same time, they are expensive, especially when you consider that not every computer that a person has is going to be capable of efficiently running Unity or Unreal to develop for it. My laptop, which I'm on right now, I can develop for it, but it takes like 40 minutes to compile the app when it's just a single room with no game mechanics. Now, if I go onto Shadow, which is a gaming PC, and I do it there, it takes 5 minutes to render it and have it able to be sent to my headset.
Right. Well, but that is, that's been the history of computers. The more RAM you can stick in there and the more cores you could have in your processor.
But where I'm going with that is, it's not enough to just say, get a job. I mean, to get an HMD. Give advice on how you can get access to it if you can't afford it. Because maybe you're 16 years old, you don't have a job to earn your own money, and your parents don't want to buy one for you.
Okay, well, let's just take this then, logical step.
Well, you know what I mean. It's because don't just say, "Oh, just go get a job." That's not helpful. Say, well, reach out to a friend who has one to borrow it periodically. Maybe you can get a Shadow subscription and use that for the developing part, so that you don't have to also spend money on a PC upgrade. And then the only expense is the HMD. Well, and the Shadow.
Provided that piece, right?
No, that's minimal comparatively.
Exactly.
Or maybe you can afford to go 1 or 2 times a month to an accelerator where they have an HMD and a computer. Maybe you can reach out to Twitter users and say, "Hey, who wants to test this for me and give me feedback?" That's not the optimal way, but it could still work. Don't just say, "Oh, just go get an HMD," because ideal to have one, but that's not necessarily going to be possible for everyone who wants to start getting into it. So be a little bit more helpful than just
Right. I mean, I know what you're saying, but then again, the question is very general as well.
Right.
So the answer is necessarily going to be general as well, unless you ask a specific. I wouldn't know where to tell people to start. It's like when I was working on the web, there was no book about the web. There was no web that anybody even knew about. So you have to learn these things. So if you're asking where to get started, I mean, that's a good question. But I always found that, yes, you needed to know enough to know what you didn't know in order to be able to start learning what you need to learn.
Well, a few years ago, I participated in a game jam with the VR meetup group around here.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Gear VR. They were making a Vive game, a PC VR game. I had a Gear VR. I can't test that. No. But this was pre-COVID, so we were able to actually go to the same place. I drove 45 minutes down to Detroit to get there in a car with no air conditioning in the summer. That was fun. Oh. And I brought my laptop, and we hung out in the house that had fans going. And I was doing my part on my laptop. Someone else was doing their part over there. Someone else doing their part. And there was a Vive there for testing. So that's a viable way of doing it as well. Even if you don't have a headset, you can find a VR meetup group, and I mean, not every area is going to have one, obviously, but there are solutions out there,
right?
Of being able to work on it, even though you don't have a headset. I mean, at the time, I couldn't have afforded a PC VR. That would have been like $1,500 or $2,000.
I have one, so yes, they were ridiculously expensive.
Yeah. No way I would have been able to afford that. It's much better now with the Quest, obviously.
Right.
but still, it is coming down in cost, but I don't think it's going to come down too much lower than what the Quest is, really.
I can't see it only just
Yeah.
because of the actual global supply chain is changing right now. So
Right.
everything is going to go up in cost at some point.
Right. But anyway, we have been talking about that for a little bit too long, probably, because we're
Uh,
now over the 1 hour mark.
Already? Oh my God.
Yes. Uh,
Already. Speed this up.
Why
Speed
You
this
Are
up.
Fit was broken by the version 19 update on the Oculus Quest, causing major tracking issues, like I experienced when I played Skyrim before I got it fixed. My hand was going on its own.
Ooh, I had that happen to me in Death yesterday. Are you kidding? My bow hand started to fly.
So the good news is there's already a fix for it out on SideQuest. So if you use Why You Are Fit and you're on version 19, you go and get the update. If you're on version 18, still
Expect it.
either you don't update your quest until you update Why You Are Fit, or you're going to have to update Why You Are Fit immediately after. So, but there is a fix. So,
Oh, that's good that they did that.
in other news, Oculus version 19 has been rolling out.
I
It
found that
brings an expanded party option. Now you can have 8 people in the party as opposed to 4.
I haven't tried that yet. Have you?
I haven't tried it yet either. I tend not to use parties because and I don't know if it's been fixed yet or not, but it breaks the mic for other games, or
Or it seemed to.
it used to.
Right. I know Gargantua was a big one. I know a
Right.
lot of games across the board were having problems, but Gargantua fixed it, and I believe it's been fixed in a couple of others, so they might have it working.
Yeah. So it might be fixed. I don't know for sure, but I tend not to use it. But that's also partially because I tend not to play anymore when you guys are playing.
I know
See,
what happened.
so,
It's really weird that we've all gone off in separate directions for a while.
right. So, but yeah, it looks like a good update. They've got the all go into a game together stuff going on still, and I don't think they have a new rooms yet, and they're not going to probably, because that's Horizon. Whenever
I
that
know.
comes, hopefully we'll know September 15th about that.
My biggest gripe is why did they kill off rooms
I
before
know
it was ready?
they killed it off so long ago that I'm like, why?
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if you knew for a fact that Horizon was just around the corner and ready to come out, sure, I can understand killing it off a few months early or whatever, but it's been, what?
A year.
Year and a half, you know?
Yeah.
And there's been no built-in Oculus social option other than just a voice chat with
Which
3
is
other
crazy.
people.
I know.
So, but yeah, but anyways, it's version 19. It's rolling out. It's got other updates. Obviously, you can go look them up. There's voice command available now if you're using the new UI. I don't think it works if you're using the old UI.
And it might not work if you're using the new UI yet either, because it's rolling.
Depending on your region and all that. Yeah, no,
Right.
they're still rolling out. And you know how Oculus does it. They roll out the update, but not all the features of the update get activated right away.
Right.
So, moving on, Rec Room is going to be having a Maker Pen update coming out. I don't think it's already out, but I could be wrong. Where circuits are done differently, and they're done more like blueprints in Unreal. How they are now is clunky. You have a little like object with like a pin coming out of it, and then another pin, a red pin, a green pin, and they connect a wire to it, and it's all clunky, and you can't tell at a glance what is going on. You have to go into the configuration of each and every item to know what is going on with it and what it's set to do.
Right.
But how they are going to be doing it now looks more like a shader graph or like a blueprint. So it's much more transparent. You can see at a glance all of the parameters on it, what each unit is doing, and what's going into it and what's coming out of it, and it looks like it's going to be a lot better.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's just it. The cleaner they make the interface, the easier it is to use.
Yep. And they have an avatar face update. Well, face shape update. Now you can have rounded cheeks, you can have a pointed chin, you can have kind of a rectangle look if you want. So not necessarily the greatest customization options, but you've got customization options for your head shape now.
It's at some point, considering that they were going to be opening these volumetric photographic stations around the world, where you would go in and they would take your picture and then use
and do a face scan.
Right. Or a full body scan,
Right.
Volumetric, and that's your avatar. Fix it up a little bit. I don't think that they're going to need to get to that point, to be very honest with you. I mean, if you could do things like they do with Thread or Stitch Fix or any of these others where they're able to measure your body just from a phone, then why can't they do that now? And why aren't these avatars
Spatial is doing that.
Right.
Not the spatial, but spatial.
Right. Exactly. I know it's going to get crazy for a while as these names cross over each other. But I know that's something that was being started up. It was like a whole startup organization that seemed to stop.
Now, I have mixed feelings about having a unified avatar that's the same in every app, because Rec Room doesn't match graphically sort of Gargantua, which doesn't match graphically No Man's Sky or whatever. Right. And if I were in all of those with my Oculus avatar, it would look out of place.
Okay, but maybe maintain your face so your body shape.
I get it would be nice to have a unified avatar that, hey, this is me no matter what app I'm in, but at the same time, there's such a wide variety of the look and feel in all of these apps that I don't know if that's really necessarily appropriate, because let's say Trover were a multiplayer game and you could see other players in there, and you know what the world of Trover looks like, kind of like a claymation-ish Sesame Street Muppet look, right?
Oh, it's weird. I'll give you that. Yeah. Every world.
If you see an Oculus avatar in there all of a sudden, that would look out of place. It doesn't fit, So,
no, there's nothing that would fit in Trover. Don't use Trover as a standard.
Oh, no, you know what I mean, though.
Yeah, I do.
Or like,
I do. You're not going to show up in red.
It would look like those people that take a video game avatar and they paste a flat image of their face on it.
Right. Pretty much.
That looks janky. Yeah.
It does. But if they could volumize it so you could at least put your face there, that would be a good thing, I think. Maybe. Although some people might not want their own face. They might want that avatar to hide behind. So.
Right. So, yeah. Anyways, moving on to our next to last bit of news. Waltz of the Wizards $2 sale leads to record sales numbers. So all they had to do was to discount it $2 and on the sale.
Well, that, and between that and the hand tracking, it made it a natural. It really did. Yeah. So, I'll say the combination.
Kudos to them. Congratulations to them. Well deserved. It's a very good app. Also, Phantom Covert Ops has only been out what is that, about a month, I think, just a few weeks.
Not even.
Yeah,
It's
it's just
2 weeks
a
old.
few weeks. Yeah, and it's broken the $1 million mark already.
A week ago.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know.
yeah. So
It was like,
who
that's
knows where
old
it is now?
news.
Maybe it's at 2 million, but now.
Right. And that's, they're already predicting that next week, when Onward comes out, it could be a $2 million day.
Right.
You know,
You never know.
you don't know. But what it does all go to show, once again, is that VR is on a growth pattern that is unstoppable at this point.
Especially this device.
Wait, that had a purple front on it. You want to mate it with this, and we can go for a third generation here. And
No, I don't breed my Quest.
well, quest breeding. That's an interesting. Try something new. I think I've seen that hashtag.
No. But yeah, uh, I think it also shows that people are ready for and they want the deeper, longer games in VR.
Yeah.
I don't think uh, that something like Akron, Attack of the Squirrels, as fun as it is, I don't think it would have had $1 million in only a couple weeks.
I don't think it's going to make $1 million in its lifespan, but
Well, they
that's a
are
niche
counting
game.
on quantity of games
Right.
that studio is, rather than
Right.
quality of games.
And their gimmick was more.
And they're all reasonable quality, so don't get me wrong, but they've got like, what, 3 games coming out later this year?
I know. I know. It doesn't make sense. It seems like some of the developers, indie developers, are disappearing rapidly. I think you'd agree with me. They're a rapidly disappearing bunch.
Right.
And we keep
Rapidly.
rapidly disappearing, rapidly rapido. And the thing is I was telling you before about Squanch Games and the fact that they don't believe that VR can support AAA games yet, and here we are talking about $1 million weeks.
I know.
So,
And I would consider the Phantom to be a AAA title. I mean, it really is.
not
It's only, what, like 4 hours at most shorter than Metal Gear Solid was. You know?
Right. So I consider
That's
that a
like
triple.
for 3 missions shorter. Yeah.
It's not exactly. It's
Right.
nothing, especially considering it's on a mobile set.
Right.
Between that and, like I said, Trover, which really could be a AAA platformer.
Right.
It could replace any of the platformers that are out there.
Right.
So yes, they are developing AAA games. I guess the cost is going up as they need more and more developers to take advantage.
Well, yeah.
But
Right.
as they put in the stronger processors, they won't need to take such incredible amounts of time to, condense the.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
they'll just be able to let it run. The
Yeah.
compression just won't be as long.
Right. And as they improve the algorithms, like the the super sampling stuff, so that's going to hit at some point.
Exactly.
And that'll be a quantum leap in the ability of the devices to have higher resolution and better graphics. Without a single change in the actual hardware.
Oh, I know. Well, look at what they've done with the Quest. We bought
Right.
it at the same time, a little over a year ago, and it's a different headset than it was then when we purchased it. We bought a
Because
wireless.
I put a purple faceplate on it. That's why.
Oh, and even a little bit more, like the 18 upgrades in the
Yeah,
operating system since the day
Yeah.
we got it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, but yeah, you're right. I think if Squanch Games really is the bowing out, I don't really understand why. I think they're making a bad decision, but it's their decision to make.
Right.
So
So,
I can't make the decision for them. I wouldn't want to, because then I'll be holding me liable. And I don't want to be held liable for multi-million-dollar decisions.
Right. I have enough problems. I don't need that. So, but I
Yeah,
hope they come back.
Yeah. Um, all in all, it's still an exciting time in the world of VR and the world of the Quest, which is, I think, is firmly established as the go-to device to develop for right now. If you can make it past the Oculus creation, the gatekeepers.
Yeah, that is going to be a tough one. But if you can, yes, the Quest is
But
obvious.
I'm just waiting for an announcement that a side quest only game has made $1 million. I think that might come at some point because they're making it easier at some point, and I don't know exactly how they're going to work that out. They are making it. They are going to make it easier to install games or to access games that are not on the um, official Quest store. Well, whether that means you can just install and download them from within the headset rather than the side questing and the plugging into the computer, which makes a lot of people afraid, even though it's really super simple.
Right.
But when that hits, there is the potential for a game there to also make a lot of money.
Oh, well, I believe that side quest pretty much has to be put on the headset to bypass the computer. And one reason is very simple. It's like me, I travel with a much lighter duty computer when I travel. And
Well, you don't need a really heavy duty computer to install a side quest, but
if there's upgrades or
via side quest, I mean,
Right. I understand.
Yeah.
But it just has to get its act together a little bit more and become a polished storefront. And I think
Right. I know what you mean. Right now is not really. The app itself is more like it has a website enclosed in an app boundary.
Right.
And so one thing that frustrates me sometimes about it is I click on the details of an app, I scroll all the way down reading all the reviews, and then I hit back to go to the list of apps, and I'm all the way down at the bottom of the list. I've got to scroll back up to see where I was. It should take me back to where I was, rather than all the way down at the bottom of the list.
Because it's set up as a website, not as a portal.
Right.
And they really take that extra step. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's an algorithm.
But it is still a very useful app, and it makes it a lot easier. I mean, as you probably figured out earlier, and you probably already knew, I don't have a single issue with just doing it via ADB commands.
Right.
I'm doing it all myself. I've done that before. It's not that difficult. You just need to open up a console, type ADB install.
Right. You're basically debugging it and installing it.
Right. So it's not that difficult, but SideQuest makes it even more not difficult. And with the upcoming Oculus, as integration, if you want to call it that, it'll make it even more not difficult.
Right. It'll be
also known as easier.
Oh, that is a word in the English language, isn't it?
Yes.
I think that'll be a good idea for Oculus to be able to do that, because it's like when we were first starting with the Go. I look back now at my library for the Go. I can't even count how many games I have there.
Right.
Which allowed them creativity and expression. And if somebody wanted to make a 10-minute demo and it was a free download to see whether or not to continue and turn it into a full-length game, where do they have to go but through a side quest? So.
Right. And, I know I don't want to pay, $5, $20, whatever, for a 10-minute demo.
Right.
Granted, some of them might be worth it, a $5 charge, not a $20 charge, but SideQuest has a lot of great titles on it, so, and it will continue to get more great titles on it, so.
I know. My only
Anyways,
one
we are
thing
way
that-
over time.
Okay, so let's
Sorry,
go.
sorry. No. So go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I realize we've gone over time. The only thing I was going to say was, once again, we're getting back to the point that if you have to have a device other than the Quest to download a game to your Quest, it just
Right.
creates so much friction that it's
Right. I
easier.
mean, it's still a lot less friction than using ADB, because it does all that stuff for you. But yeah, there could be more friction still removed. So
Exactly. That was really the only point that I had to make. So,
yeah. Yep, you are right. And on that note, we will remove all the friction of letting you go back to your day by reminding you to
subscribe.
subscribe and hit that notification bell just like that.
Oof, that notification bell took a beating on that one, Josh.
Yeah. Well, my son is a fan of Davey504 on YouTube,
Okay.
and he always goes, slap that notification icon or bell, and he goes, and then a loud sound is played.
Okay, that was our shout out to Davey504.
Or something like that. So, anyways, have a great rest of your weekend or week, whenever you decide to watch it. Bye.
Bye, guys.